Hello, hello. Drop in the chat if you can see me and hear me. Oh, hi, Andrea. Also, let me know if you can hear my cat. He's in heat, so he's running all over the house and meowing at the door, trying to go find some girls, I'm sure. It's driving me crazy, and I'm sorry if you hear it in the background. But let me know in the chat if you can see me, if you can hear me, if you can hear Xiao Huang trying to make a prison break. I want to know you can he's looking at me as if I just shut the door to his dreams. Well, I guess I did chop off his testicles. So, oh well. We're not here to talk about my cat's testicles. We're here to talk about how to move abroad as a grad student. So I'm waiting for a few more people to trickle in before we really kick it off. Thank you for letting me know that you see me and that you hear me. I have the Wander Onwards perfect purple background. This cat. I'm gonna go put him on the balcony in his special little area. We cat proofed our balcony, so there's like little uh screens on it so he can look outside and like chase birds with his eyes, but it is -2 degrees, so I'll probably just have him suffer all evening inside. It's okay. Let me go ahead and thank you, Danny. Thank you, Lorraine, for being here. Something that really warms my heart is the fact that so many of you I know personally, which is awesome because one, that means we have a relationship and I really, really value that. And two, you find my content valuable because I work really, really hard to pull this off. Most people don't know, I actually work full time in technology. So it's a long day to work on my full-time job and then afterwards to come here to be personable, to create content that's valuable, meaningful. So for your attention, I'm so grateful. Let me Sveise forever. Sveinze. What are you trying to say, Muggy? My German's not that good yet. Okay, let's share my screen. Okay. Can you let me know in the chat if you can see my how to move abroad or how to do a master's degree abroad presentation, please? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. I'm not sure why I'm singing here, but do let me know if you can see the presentation. Nobody's let me know just yet. Hello from Colombia. Ooh, so jealous. I want to be in Colombia. I was supposed to go this year, actually. Okay, can we see? Okay, good. Now we have a confirmation. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Andrea. Welcome to How to Do a Master's Abroad, the live workshop. This is a topic that's really near and dear to me because this is how I pulled it off, y'all. Like this opened up my entire life to living abroad, to working abroad. And I think if you want to make that transition where you want to transplant your very normal American life with your loved ones and your cat that's in heat, establishing yourself in a new country or at least with international experience and education is the way to do it. So, well, let's talk about what that means. How are we going to pay for it, Vanessa? How are we going to go do it? I'm going to let you know in just 1 second. So, just as a quick introduction, I know not everyone here follows me on Instagram. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm the owner of Wander Onwards. I am a full-time travel tech employee. I work in API integration technology, and I'm also a business owner. So I own Wander Onwards LLC and With Love Travel. And through these two platforms that I own, I help people become financially and location independent. So that's not necessarily a digital nomad thing. My specialty is building an expat life abroad and relocating your family to Dubai to work in banking or relocating to Morocco to do teaching. I help very normal people live incredible lives. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. I've been featured in a couple of publications, so I'm legit, more or less. I've been in Be Latina, Time, Teachable, HuffPo, and Business Insider. And you can read all of my articles on my website, wanderonwards.co. If you're a little bit interested in what I'm doing out here in Germany, how did I get here? What's my story? We're going to talk about those things, but just in case you want a little after reading, I have my Business Insider article about how much it costs for me to live in Germany. Like, I actually budget everything for you, so you can really see that y'all are getting scammed in America. Like, drop in the chat if you think you're getting scammed in America. My cell phone bill here is 25 euros. I pay 88 euros for transport. I pay 335 for nationalized healthcare, and I could go get a breast augmentation if I really wanted to on the national health insurance, which is really cool. I don't know anywhere else where that's possible. So that really alleviates a lot of cash from things that I would otherwise spend on. And that allows me to invest and build the life that I really want to. I also have a second article with Time where I talk about the nuances of money in China, where I used to live, United Kingdom, where I used to live, and now Germany. So a couple fun articles for you to take a note of and read later. A little introduction about why do I do this? Like, why am I out here? I could have had a very normal life in Boston. I was supposed to go to law school. I had a very handsome but boring boyfriend, and I gave it all up. I literally bailed on law school, dropped out of my LSAT classes that cost me like $2,000 because I was unhappy with my life. I really couldn't figure out where my place was in the world. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. There's a bunch of stereotypes that come with that. I never really found like a friend group that understood this wanderlust and that understood that I needed to see more than what was 5 miles outside of my house. There was just like, I call it a siren call. There was something in me that needed to leave. So I went to Boston. I thought, surely 3,000 miles away, like that should really quell the fire in me. I was wrong. That just made me want to run farther. Do I have anyone here in the East Coast? Drop in the chat if you're in the East Coast. I had a very bizarre experience at Boston. I say that the weather is just as cold as the people are sometimes. So that really wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for a community. I was looking for adventure. Everyone seemed to think I was crazy. And I didn't really have a tight-knit group of friends there who had the same interests as me. Like, I had plenty of friends. They were all super nice. I'm still in contact with some of them. But no one really got me. And I knew it. And I knew that this would be the only opportunity in my life where I had no kids, I had no real responsibility. I had like 6-figure debt, but that's not important because we're paying it down. And really, this was the opportunity for me to live my life on my terms. Because at the end of the day, I owed it to myself. I worked hard. I beat myself up as a child to get good grades, to be the perfect child, to be the perfect citizen and do all of the right things that society told me I needed to do. And that left me empty, and it left me hungry, and it left me feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, which isn't true. Like, everybody has somewhere in the world that they belong. You just need to figure out where that is. So you owe it to yourself to figure out where in the world you belong. And we're going to go over some of those things to figure out exactly where you belong. And we're going to figure out how to get you there. Okay. So let me check the chat. I felt that, said Fluff. She works hard for her money. Thank you, Lorraine. Hello, Paola. Great. I'm so glad that everyone is here. Get them boobies, lols. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so my life is a little unique. I recognize that it is a little strange about what I do. So because I have a travel blog and a travel business, I get paid to travel all over the world. My honeymoon was basically bankrolled by my blog. I was able to go all over Mexico, all over Cuba, and brands invited me to come along and paid for the experiences. And Marcus and I just documented it. We wrote blogs about it. We did links. We encouraged our fans to go with us. So that's what I do for fun. I get to travel for free. For work, because I work in the European Union and I work in a partner facing role, I'm being shipped all over the world to speak with engineering teams in person normally, pre pandemic. And then I just tack on like a little weekend wherever it is that I am. So whether that's Paris or Warsaw or Berlin, my company was paying me to go out to these cities to work and to do consulting. And then my blog would essentially pay for my time there. And I would come back spending like just food and pocket money, which was crazy. So I've really spent a long time creating this perfect space for myself where the stuff that I do for work and that pays my bills is something that I love and that I'm so excited to jump out of the bed to do. That's why I kind of put this both over here to the right, because it doesn't feel like work. I'm surrounded by people who speak different languages, who come from different places in the world. I'm constantly being educated about these faraway lands that I haven't been to before, and I'm getting paid to do that. So that's pretty crazy. I know most consulting in America, you get shipped out to like Idaho or Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere. My sister was in consulting, so she would call me from Idaho and she'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "I just got to Paris. What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm eating at the only McDonald's in town because there is no supermarket for 20 miles as this is a food desert." So life is a little bit different in Europe, but that doesn't mean you need to go to Europe. Asia is also an incredible place to live. I lived there for 2 years. If Marcus asked me, "Do you want to quit your job and move to Asia again today?" I would leave. Like, I'll find work. It'll be fine. Move me back to Asia. Latin America, I haven't spent as much time in. I am originally, I'm ethnically Mexican. So we go back and forth from Mexico, but I would love to spend some time in Latin America. So this year I'm going to Argentina for 4 weeks. Because also, did you know we have at least minimum like 22 days of holiday, and I actually have 40 days of holiday this year. Are you guys mad? It is a little bit hard for Americans to swallow when they first start to hear how different things are. And this job was possible because I did my master's in the United Kingdom. I created that like solidity, I created that authority, and they were willing to give me a job and start to curate my career in the European Union. It's okay, guys. Eva, we're gonna figure out how to get this. Yeah, girl, you got to do that. Okay, so this journey is for you. If any of these scenarios seem like something that resides in your spirit, okay, you are over the 9 to 5 and you want to pursue a career shift and travel more. I think people underestimate the different lifestyles that are outside of America. Like, you can have a 9 to 5 and you can travel just as much as me. Like, I've been to 50 countries and I work a very normal 9 to 5, but I've escaped the American 9 to 5, the rat race 9 to 5, and I just do my job and go home. Like, that's really all I want to do. And I'm surrounded by people from all over the world. So my best friend at work is Danish, my boss is British, my work mom is from Wales, our boss is from Italy, and this really creates a different sort of environment from the 9 to 5 that I'm used to in America. And it creates space to travel more because the cost from like London to Berlin for a flight is like 45 euros. Like, you can Google it right now and price check me. It's crazy. I flew to Morocco for 99 euros return trip on British Airways. If you're able to just leave America, your entire life opens up. It really does. And then you get to decide how you're going to pursue these different options. So the second type of person who is the perfect candidate for a master's abroad is someone who wants to follow their dreams abroad, but they don't really know where to start. I think the ideal thing about a study abroad program is their structure. You know exactly where you need to be. The visa process is relatively straightforward. You have a schedule. You meet specific people that are just like you, who have a similar mindset as you, and you're kind of handheld through the product or through the process, if you will, because the university is incredibly supportive. They're always answering your questions. They help with visa documents. This is perfect for anyone who's like a little bit unsure with their heads in the clouds. Maybe you don't really enjoy the industry you're in and you want to make a shift, or maybe you want to improve your skills, improve your language skills, something that will make the difference in the long run. I know some people are a little bit concerned about putting a pause on their career, but I didn't even get my first real job till I was 25. Like I spent a year or 2 years in China, one of those years doing a Chinese language program. Then I did my master's in the UK for 2.5 years while I was doing internships. And then I went to Turkey and I worked on the border of Syria as a emergency aid worker. I completely forgot about that until now. So it's been a journey. I followed my dreams. I kept my head in the clouds, and I just trusted that I was going to figure it out. And with a guiding program like a master's abroad, they're going to put companies, leads, networks in front of you. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to transition abroad full time if you want. You don't have to, moving forward, because you have that support network. And then finally, my favorite, if you are disillusioned with the status quo and want to pursue an alternative way of life and opportunities, doing a master's abroad is for you. This year has been horrible for a lot of people, and it is not up to you to lead the revolution. It is not on your shoulders to be the sole change in the world that you want to see. The world is going to do what it's going to do, and you can be supportive. You can help in your own ways. Like, you know me, I'm fighting the patriarchy in America from Germany, but I'm not giving up my sense of safety, my sense of self, my sense of peace in order to fight this invisible demon that I believe is there, that is holding my people back, to be honest, and that's creating violence against minorities in the United States. Like that's not on me. That's not on you. You have the opportunity to explore a life that is aligned with your values, that keeps your family safe, and that brings out the best in you. So just remember that. So many of us, when we come from like minority backgrounds or big families, like we give up a lot of ourselves to conform, to be supportive, to put others before ourselves. If you are considering a master's abroad, that is your opportunity to put yourself first, to do what you want, to see what is important to you. And then, you know what? Honestly, that makes you a better carer. Like, I'm a Cancer. I have to care for the people around me. I need to talk about my feelings. I want to talk about your feelings, but I cannot pour from an empty cup. So this is my self-care, being in Germany, where I have access to socialized healthcare, a pension, safety. My biggest problem is my cat is in heat, and that makes me effective for combating other systemic issues in America and putting my best foot forward for my community. So just remember that. So here's our agenda for today. First, we're going to talk about where in the world do you belong? Because that's a big question. It's a big place. We're going to talk about visas and immigration. We're going to talk about the end-to-end process of studying abroad. We're going to talk about paying for your master's. I don't know why I don't bring this up more, probably because I didn't take the scholarship, but I got a full ride scholarship to a university in Shanghai. They're going to pay for everything, my books, my flights, my education. And I worked really, really hard for that. But unfortunately, Marcus proposed, and I was like, fine, I'll come and marry you and like be happy, whatever. But my entire life could have changed if I went back to China, did that master's program, and like figured it out from there. So let's see how I did that. And then finally, we're going to talk about staying abroad, because once you invest your money, your time, your skills, how do you get to the point where you get to stay out there and build a better life abroad? So let me check the chat to see if anyone, let's see, she works hard for her money. Yup. Escaping the American 9 to 5. Yes. I mean, the European 9 to 5 is such a joke. Like, the Germans leave the office at 4. We know that if you need to contact someone after 4, you will not be able to. Age is never a factor. It is never a factor when it comes to education. Do not worry. You loving these slides? Thank you, thank you. Yeah, you're still pulling 12-hour days. It's illegal to pull 12-hour days in Europe. They track your computer and the time that you sign on and off to the technology. For BMW, where my husband works, they'll actually pay you more if you work overtime, but there's a cap. And once you hit that cap, they send you home. You cannot work a certain amount of overtime. They will physically move you home. So I'm here for that. All right, let's get into this. So obviously, I need to include a disclaimer. This is for educational and informational purposes only. Before you invest in any lawyers or accountants or anything like that, please do consider professional and licensed help. This is just to give you a some inspirational education and to show you what's possible. So let's talk about why you should move abroad. In addition to questioning your motivations, you really need to reflect on your values and how you want that to be communicated in your new home. So, for example, Paola is a 20-something young woman who lives in Washington, D.C., who is a social activist. Showing up for her community is super important to her. She has strong social values, a strong alliance to healthcare, and she doesn't have a trust fund to go pay for her education. So I wonder if that sounds familiar. She's in this workshop. So hi, Paola. For Paola, the countries that align with her values and that uphold the healthcare, the social values, the openness to immigrants, that would probably not be Tibet, because as you know, it's being crushed by the Chinese government. That would probably not be any countries that are hostile to immigrants, full stop. Arguably, some European countries can be hostile towards immigrants. So we just need to be aware of that. But places that are very open, that uphold socialized healthcare and these sorts of values would be Germany, it would be Italy, it would be Spain. There are plenty of places in Latin America where the social system is quite strong, a little chaotic, but strong nonetheless. So these countries align with Paola's values and would be a good option for her to pursue, because once she's done with her program, she can roll into the society and start contributing actively, and she'll feel more like she's at a place where she needs to be. Let's say there is another person, we'll call her Bianca. Bianca is a finance girl. She has hella loans. She wants to get paid, and she's single and wants to have a good time. So maybe she'll go to Dubai instead, because in Dubai, you have 0% income tax. They're very high salaries because they're trying to draw in talent. So if Bianca goes and studies banking or Arabic or whatever she wants to do, then she can roll into the workforce quite easily, live it up, have a penthouse, come home with 70K in the bank. I know this is true because my friend did it. So she's not some sort of senior executive director, blah, blah. She's a very normal girl that came back home with $70,000 in her bank. It was crazy. Now, let's say you're someone that isn't that great at languages, which is totally fine. And you also are on a tight budget and need to consider like social responsibilities, such as caring for your parents or having a family unit of some sort that relies on you. A great place to go would be the United Kingdom because, one, if you study the right thing in Scotland, you can actually get your education for free. And two, they have lots of family visas. So if someone needs to come over so you can take care of them, like there's a process for that. So you can start looking into that scenario a little bit more. You need to figure out what sort of life you want to build immediately after your move abroad program so you can pick the right country for you. Let's see some of the comments. Let's see. What's illegal? Yes, she is my soul sister. She's the best. Okay, so with me, when I first left in 2013, my values were more focused on like adventure and living in an international environment. I wasn't particularly worried about money. I wasn't particularly concerned about building a pension or establishing socialized healthcare and being a part of that. I was looking for a good time, not a long time. And that's totally fine. Whatever your motivations are, even if it's just to enjoy yourself, that is 100% your prerogative and 100% fine. You do not always need to make decisions that will like lean on other decisions 10 years down. I think COVID taught us a lot. We have to live in the now. We have to remember that life is short and we need to make decisions that are best for us and our family in the immediate space and not dwell 10, 15, 20 years later so much. So I actually did my master's in London. I did it at the SOAS, the University of London. It is a former East Indies university, unfortunately. So there's that colonial history that we're trying to decolonialize. But the specialty here in London is emerging economies and markets. So if you are a blonde hair, blue eyed British national and you want to learn Chinese, you come to this school. If you are of Nigerian descent that was born in the United Kingdom and you want to learn Korean, you come to this school. I had such a great time. The girl in the photo, she's actually in Vietnam right now. This university churns out diplomats, ambassadors, translators, emergency aid workers. That's why I chose it. This is what I wanted to do, or at least I thought. So my circumstances were very, very normal. I had a 2.3 GPA, like that's a B minus. I come from a public school district in Los Angeles. I was not prepared for Boston College level of academics. That's fine. I've literally never had anyone ask me what my GPA was at school. In the European Union, they really just want to see the check mark. Like you don't need to go to Harvard. You don't need to go to Oxford. They want to see that you could discipline yourself to sit in one place for 4 years or 2 years, depending on the program. And they want you to complete something and see it to the end and then have something to talk about that you're passionate about. So do not worry if you do not have 4.5 GPA or any of that nonsense. I also didn't take any tests. So this was really important to me. I suffer from deep anxiety, and in my head, I would whip up a storm about whether or not this test would determine the rest of my career or my life. It was all very American, when in reality, a test doesn't. It really doesn't. And so I needed a program where I wouldn't have to take the MCAT, the LSAT, whatever CATs are out there. And I found that in the United Kingdom all over the place. There are also those options abroad because, of course, I got into this Shanghai University. So it's totally possible. You do not need to take another test. I was also in debt. So this is a big question that people come to me with. Can I move abroad when I'm in debt? Or should I stay in America because there are higher salaries, blah, blah, blah. The cost of living in America is redonkulous. I have never seen anything like it before. On the regular, I think my household budget would have been like 2, 3, 4,000 living in Los Angeles for two people. Here in Germany, I live off of 1,500 by myself, and like obviously contributing to household bills, and the rest goes into my investment accounts. So it's just so different, the amount of the cost of living abroad than it is in the United States. And so the salaries do reflect that. The average salary in the United Kingdom is, or in London specifically, is about 33,000. But people are able to rent normal accommodation. They have a good time outside. Drinks are like 2 to 6 euros or pounds at a normal pub. It is definitely doable. And for that reason, I paid down $40,000 worth of debt in 4 years. Over those 4 years, my income did increase. So that's why I was able to contribute more. But I was battling my debt at 33,000 pounds per year, and it was totally fine. Also, you can actually get a government federal loan from the United States government to pay for your master's. It's about 25,000 per year. My program was 16,000, so I borrowed that plus some so I could pay for living expenses. I didn't want to have to drop out because of money or because I couldn't afford rent. I just wanted to focus on my education, finish my master's, and get into the job market. That was my goal. So I thought taking a little bit of federal debt was the best way to make that happen. Do we have any questions? Let's see. I can't deal with standardized tests. Yep. Will a 2.5 GPA make it hard to study? You see my 2.3 GPA, and you're asking me if your bigger GPA is a problem. It's fine. What's the program called for the loan? It's called federal loan. That's the website that I go to when I have to pay my bills. You can have a quick Google. Okay, so you have to remember that you're playing the long game. This is not a one and done. This is not the easy way out. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. So first, you need to get a foot through the door. So whatever country that you're going to, they're going to want to see an interest and a dedication to that country. So if you do your master's in Italy, they'll see that one, you probably have some language skills, and two, you've already invested in the public health system. You've already invested in the education system. You are someone that can easily integrate, which is always a concern for governments, and that is, you've already invested in them, so they are going to want to invest in you in comparison to someone else. Secondly, you're establishing yourself as someone who has an international career. The biggest problem that I see with my clients when they're applying for jobs abroad is a job in Poland will see an American's resume from Idaho who has never left Idaho and who has no travel or international experience. And they will say, well, this is not a serious candidate, because if they haven't challenged themselves in the past, why would they challenge themselves today? So by going out and doing a degree abroad, that doesn't automatically lock you into that country. You can do your program in Singapore and then move to Kenya at a later time. The point is you're establishing a footprint abroad. You're building an international network. You are creating a life for yourself outside of America, and people are going to recognize that. So really, this makes all the difference. And then finally, this will help you reach visa thresholds. So in the United Kingdom, there's I believe it's 5 years you need to wait before you can apply for a passport. I literally hit the 5 years and then I moved to Germany, so I can no longer get that passport, but I do have a residence permit. In Germany, because I did my UK master's degree, that unlocked some like secret pathway for me to get a 5-year residence permit, which no one gets, I hear. Like all of my colleagues are like, how the hell did you do that? I don't understand. Because they have to reapply every 1 to 2 years, like even on a work visa, even on a marriage visa. So doing your master's abroad gives you credibility. It gets a foot through the door. It establishes an international network. And the best paid jobs often require a master's degree in their little description. So do yourself a favor and come do your master's abroad. So let's look a little bit at my visa journey so you can understand the pathway that we're talking about. So first, I entered the United Kingdom as a tourist, and I checked out the universities, I did the info sessions, I figured out what I wanted to do. Obviously, with COVID, that's not possible, but they probably have online seminars and videos so you can get some more information about the teachers, what you're going to be doing, and what the environment is like. Second, you want to get, or then you're going to be eligible for a student visa. So your university is going to email you with all of the necessary documents. You're going to go to the local consulate in your area. So I lived in LA. I needed to go to the Chinese consulate in Los Angeles to process my Chinese visa. And that's how I was able to go work in China. Then once your program is done, you're going to be put on a work visa, or maybe you'll meet someone like I did and you'll become a family member or a partner, something like that. But it's a long-term visa. And so as you can see from my journey, that's when my EEA, so European Economic Association visa, kicked in, and I was able to apply for that. I got rejected. They tried to deport me. I fought them with the embassies and I won. So I got to stay and I got another 5-year UK residency permit. And now I'm a UK settled person. So I can go move back there whenever I want for the next 2 years. I just have to go back and forth to maintain that status. And then, of course, here I have my 5-year EU residency permit. So I can technically live and work in 40 countries. Yeah, I think it's 40 now. Can anyone else here work in 40 countries? It's tough. It's really tough. I've worked really, really hard to establish myself here and to build credibility. Does one get denied a visa frequently? If you're me, yes. I have a bullseye on my forehead for some reason, and I regularly get detained at places, but it's probably because I have so many shady passport stamps. Like I have Cuba, I have loads of Morocco stamps, Tunisia, Dubai, Kenya. So maybe I'm setting myself up. But all of this was only possible because of my master's degree. So let's talk about some common concerns and look at me living my best life in Greece. So some people are worried, oh, I haven't studied in ages. That is not going to be a huge problem because the style of education abroad is different. It's a lot more reading based. It's a lot more essay based. There's time for you to submit things instead of a test where you have to sit there, panic, and then if you get a certain amount wrong, then you're done. I will also say that in Europe, at least, we have a pass-fail system. So as long as you pass with over 60% correct for your essays, for your test, sorry, not 60, 50% correct, pardon, you pass the course, you're done. In the UK, we have first, second, third. First is like the A's and they're the cool people, and the honors, that's 80%. Actually, that might be 70%. No, I'm pretty sure it's 80%. Then you have the upper seconds, which is what I got in university in London. So I was 2 points away from the first, which is fine because, like I said, nobody has ever asked me about this. So it's just a different style of education that's a lot more forgiving, which is something we don't really have in the United States. Another concern, my grades aren't good enough. As you can see, as long as you're doing better than me, you're going to be fine. These universities really prefer work experience over just like good grades because it shows you know what you want, you have real world experience, you have the ability to make decisions for yourself. So if you're making a pivot in your career, you're moving from marketing to social work or vice versa, that's also okay. Like that's what a master's is there to do. It's to allow you to explore a different career option. Another concern, as we heard, I'm worried about derailing my career. Your career does not define you, first and foremost. You are an amazing person, whether you're at that job or not. you deserve to figure out what you want long term before you lock yourself into a 20, 30, 40-year career. And right now, if you have the opportunity to leave, you should do it. It would be such a dishonor to yourself to just continue to put what you want on pause because it's safe and because you know it, when you could have this incredible life abroad, somewhere that you love with someone that you love, um, if you're too afraid to take that risk on yourself. Plus, the master's degree is a lot like a slingshot. So it might seem like your friends are aligned with you and then they're starting to go forward and you're starting to go back and freaking out, but you're a slingshot. So when your program is done and the slingshot is released, you fly right past anyone who you thought was doing better than you or might have more than you. And that was definitely my experience. If you don't speak languages, that's okay too. Most programs that are masters are actually in English because they require an English test to attend because they have so many different international students coming in. We have lots of Chinese students, lots of Japanese students here in Munich. None of them speak German, like they all speak English. And so English is the common language when it comes to higher education. And then finally, I can't afford this. Yes, you can. And I'm going to show you how later in this presentation. Do not worry. And just to sum up this idea, The Guardian posted the top 5 regrets that dying people have at the end of their life. And at the end, nearly every single person said, I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself, not a life others expected of me. So I really want you to like reflect internally. What is holding you back from taking this leap of faith out on yourself? And is it something that it's worth living with for the rest of your life? Okay. For me, the 2 differences between my life in America, I had mountains of hospital bills because I was so sick all the time from so much anxiety. I had panic attacks taking the LSATs and all my tests. I was $110,000 in debt. I was potentially taking an additional $150,000 of debt for law school. No. I had a deep feeling and sense of loneliness, and I was making decisions based off of being this perfect, ideal daughter that I thought my parents wanted and not who I really was. Now, today, fast forward 8 years, I got universal health care. I went to the gynecologist and paid zero. I'm always like laughed at the doctor's office because I like hold my credit card out and like wait for them to give me the nod that I can leave. And they always have a right laugh with that one. My mindset has shifted away from American rat race values and like all the pressure that it comes with being an American in the professional sense. I'm very calm. I've cried in front of my boss and he was like, go take the rest of the week off because he knew I was struggling with COVID and being so far from my family. I paid down $40,000 in 4 years. Like that was huge for me. And it was only possible because of the lower cost of living abroad. I met my soulmate. I got married. Shout out to Marcus. He truly is the best person in the world. He's my best friend. He's my biggest cheerleader, and he's a bomb cook. If you are single, you need to get yourself to Northern Europe, or you need to go to Dubai, or you need to go to Hong Kong, or you need to go to Buenos Aires. Like this is where the creme de la creme congregate, not just locals but internationals, and you can find yourself a little shorty. Also, I have an incredible international friend group. I have people in every port city. I went to San Francisco, stayed with my friend for free. I went to Dubai, stayed with my friend for free. Beijing, stayed with my friend. Hong Kong, stayed with my friend. It's really incredible to have all these people scattered around the world, and it just brings me so much joy to go visit them. And then also, I invested $25,000 this year, which is crazy. It just goes to show you, like, you don't need a 6-figure salary to really build wealth for yourself. As long as you manage your outgoing income or outgoing expenses, you can really do whatever you want. Okay, here's the end-to-end Study abroad experience. Let me take a quick drink. So first, you need to obviously get into the program, but here's what it looks like once you do. You do your prep and your visa logistics. So you need to send in your visa application to the local consulate in your city, and that's going to have flight details, logistics. You need to prove how much money you have in the bank account, or how you're funding yourself there. So that could even be the federal loan. And then of course you need an invitation letter from your program. When you get there, you need to set yourself up. So first, you're probably going to live in temporary housing, or there are actually international student dorms there, so you can rent that at a discounted price. But you really need at least a month to find somewhere to live, and try not to jump the gun by taking something off the internet that you haven't seen, because this is a big scam for international students. They like tell you have one house, and then they swap it, and they're like, oh no, that's not available anymore. And then you live in some shithole with mold. You also need your residence card. This is something Americans are not used to. Think of it as a driver's license that proves you can stay there. You need to get it within the first month of living there, so don't forget. You need to enroll yourself in the local healthcare program. So you just go to the doctors or however it is set up in your country, and just let them know that you're in their district and that this is your new place of care. Yeah. And then of course you need to join social clubs, because it's so fun to join the Italian club, the cooking club, the speech and debate club. Like, you're there to experience things. Don't be shy. Now, when you're actually doing the experience and you're integrating, you're going to have a very normal class schedule. You're also likely going to be required to take language classes, unless this is an English program in an English speaking country. Like, don't miss out on those language programs. They're not very hard. They're pass fail, don't worry, but they give you an appreciation and a foundation for you to survive in that country and really thrive, not just survive. You're also going to potentially need a language requirement for your future job. So why not take the program seriously and smash those language requirements out? You can also potentially work study on a student visa. It will say very clearly whether or not you can. And I would highly recommend that you take an internship towards the end of your study abroad experience. So when you're writing your master's thesis, that's what I did. And not only did they provide thesis mentorship, but they also sponsored me to go on trips and do a bunch of stuff. So that was real cool. And then finally, at the end of your study abroad program, you need to travel. You need to create at least a month, really do 3 months, honestly. You need to create space for yourself to just travel, enjoy, see things, because you came to the end, you did it, you submitted the paperwork. That's really something to celebrate. Let's just check real quick. In Thailand, I got stopped with my Mexican passport. That was horrible. Was it intimidating? Yeah, it always is. Nah, don't be too worried. I just have a suspicious face, you know me. This is a little overview about what the curriculum looks like in a master's program. So it's not always that way, but it's 80% this way. So you'll have modules, aka semesters, and then you'll have 2 or 3 main classes with breakout classes. So you have your lecture, and then you have a breakout class where you do a small group. Then each semester, you're going to have 2 to 3 essays, and that's where the bulk of your grade is going to come from. And then you probably have an attendance grade, because they want you to be there, and a participation grade. At the very end of your entire program, you're likely going to have final exams that you'll have to sit for several hours and complete. It'll likely be a written section, not a multiple choice SAT kind of situation. So take some peace in that. And then finally, with every master's program, you need a thesis. So for about 6 months to a year, you're not going to have any classes. You're going to have to self-motivate to write your thesis, which can be 80 pages long. And that's why you want to do an internship or start working in that time, so you can get a company to sponsor you and to help you with your research and just give you some guidance. Here is the UK classification that we discussed. As you can see, the lower second, which is passing, is 50%. So if you can get 50%, you are officially a B student, and you get your degree. So I like those odds. Drop in the chat if you like those odds. Okay, let's talk about how you find a program. So you need to compare what's right for you. And these are my top 4 places to find and compare programs. The master's program, my #1 resource, goabroad.com/degree abroad. These are going to compare programs that are specifically for international students that speak English. Findamasters.com, also very similar to Masters Portal. It's really an aggregator of programs with different qualifications, countries. It's a little overwhelming, but you've just got to figure out what your country is first. And then, of course, if you're interested in the European Union, study.eu is a great place to find a program that is in English or even in the native local language. So let's talk about pricing. This always surprises people because we always expect the worst as Americans. Like, education is wildly unaffordable. But a bachelor's degree abroad at a public school can be under $3,500. Like that, or euros. That's crazy. That's discounted. People spend more on a Peloton than a year of education in Europe. It's quite amazing. So if you do a master's program at a public university, it could only cost you $300 possibly. So that would be for your tuition costs, housing, food. Like obviously we'd have to do that your own. Some of the more expensive programs are $3,500 a year, but still, if that's a 2-year program, in comparison to what you would be spending in America to live in America, you can't even really compare. And then, of course, you have master's programs that are at private universities. So SOAS was a private university, which is why I paid £16,000 for 2.5 years. I don't regret it. I still think it was incredibly affordable. That degree has increased my salary tenfold. I'm forever grateful. There might be a little bit of a surge charge for international students. At SOAS, there was. I had, instead of paying $9,000 like my UK peers who had a passport, who have been paying into the education system all their lives, I had to pay nearly double that, so $16,000, which is tough, I won't lie, but still much more affordable. Are we going to be broke for the first year of studying? Potentially not. Like if you bring enough cash before you come, if you know how to hustle while you're here, if you live in an affordable environment, these are all great ways to not be broke. In Verona, I was looking at programs in Spanish, like a Spanish master's, for $3,000 for the year, and then it was like $300 in rent a month, which is amazing. So get at it. Paola says, I had to register myself at a police station in Morocco, process my residency. It can be intimidating, but they were kind because I was a student. Countries love students. They love international students. They want people to come and learn from them. So they will always treat you better than if you are coming in trying to work because they think you're stealing their opportunities. It's a whole thing. So let's talk about free and affordable universities. So in Europe, which is my specialty, these are the main countries that offer free or affordable university. So something underneath 1,000 euros a year. And that would be Germany, Norway, France, Iceland, Luxembourg, Sweden, Austria, Finland, and the Czech Republic. So definitely start your investigations in these countries if you want to come to Europe. The UK is great because you have the English language there all ready to go, but it is more expensive than the places mentioned here, other than Scotland. Scotland's always your best friend. And then if you want to go even more granular, take a screenshot of these universities that I have here, or like write them down. They are the University of Mannheim in Germany. Shout out to Germany. the University of Bordeaux, University of Vienna, University of Economics Prague, and the University of Oslo. These are dirt cheap programs, if not free. Obviously, the application process might not be free, but this is a great place to start if you want like physical, actionable, tangible things to get started on. Okay, so let's talk about my full ride to Fudan University. So in 2015 or 16, my visa was coming to an end and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next. So I thought, fuck it, like let's apply to the CSC scholarship. It's the China Scholarship Council, and let's see what happens. So I applied for a Chinese language and culture program. It was 2 years in Shanghai, and the scholarship would cover every single dime of that. I just had to get a health certificate signed for myself and then the visa for myself. The reason this program was so generous with their money is because other countries really, really want Americans to come to their country to learn their language, to experience the life there, and to ultimately bring a cultural and business exchange. The world doesn't hate us that much as we play it up. Like, the world wants Americans to come experience what they have to offer, so they know that they're not, so we know that they're not these stereotypes that we've built up. You should definitely, if you have any interest in studying in China, the CSC scholarship actually extends beyond just this one university. It's all over China. You can do a bachelor's, you can do a PhD. It's a very generous program. So go ahead and have a look at that. And then this is a quick example of what the visa requirements are going to look like when you apply, because I'm not sure if anyone has done a visa before, which is totally cool. You're going to have to complete very specific forms with your date of birth, location that you were born, your parents, potentially social numbers so they can identify you as a real person. You'll need to include your program acceptance letter, your flights returning home if applicable. They need to, you need to demonstrate that you tick off every box. So for some programs, you need a good knowledge of English. So you'll need to prove that you're a native speaker somehow. It's normally just a passport screenshot. And then the sufficient funds is really what you need to worry about, because they don't really tell you what sufficient funds are. If you can prove that you've already paid for your program in full and you have at least $1,000 with you, that's pretty good and normally enough to be considered normal funds. If you're allowed to work on your student visa, you can sure as hell find some additional work, whether that's bartending or working in an actual office to cover those additional needs. You'll also have to do a fee of like £380 if you're in the United Kingdom, but that drops significantly in the European Union zone. I think I paid 40 euros. No. I paid 80 euros for my first residency permit. And then to change it, I had 40 euros. So it's a lot more affordable. And then, of course, you're going to want to stay abroad. You've just put all this work into learning the language, learning about the culture, moving across the world. So how do you stay abroad? First, you can go and find a job, and this is called a work sponsorship. This work visa kind of traps you with the company, though. So you have to stay with this company in order to have that visa. If you want to move to a new company, they have to agree to sponsor that visa as well. If you get a work sponsorship to move abroad, so say you do your master's abroad in the UK and then you move to Singapore on a package, they'll give you like $5,000 to move. They'll give you flexible funds for like unknown costs. They'll pay for your flights. They'll pay for your dog to be out there. If your dog needs a passport, they'll pay for your dog's passport. Like, some of these work sponsorships and packages are really, really lucrative. And some aren't. If they are paying for just your flight over there or just your temporary accommodation, that's still a decent package. So don't poo-poo it. I didn't get any package when I moved. So I thought it was worth it moving myself financially over there to pursue better opportunities, and it paid out for me. Then, of course, you can work abroad, or you could do a work study abroad program. And basically that means you exchange labor for housing or food, but there's no real money being exchanged because you're not on a work visa. So you need to make sure that those lines aren't blurred. You could also teach English abroad. You could do a Fulbright position abroad. There's loads of academic or education-based programs that will allow you to remain abroad until you figure out what you want to do next, or what country you want to go to, or if you want to do a PhD. So moving during Corona, these programs are all happening. They're currently closing the applications for fall anywhere between the end of March and the end of April. So you're going to be on that plane at the end of the year, heading out to where you need to be. You just need to check your embassy website regularly. I don't know if you saw on Instagram, but they actually closed the borders on me while I was in transit to Germany. But that doesn't matter as much to me because I have a residence permit. And so I have the same rights as passport holders. As a student, you'll have a student residence card, meaning you have the same rights as passport holders during the duration of your visa. So you're going to be okay to enter the country. Visa applications are still being processed. I did my entire visa application during the height of Corona. So this is still happening. And then finally, you're establishing a personal network while you're abroad. So if anything happens, there are loads of other international students that empathize and that want to help. It really is an incredible international community out here. And we all know what it means to be alone and without our families. So we're always so willing to help. And finally, for all my incredible women or people who identify as women or non-binary folk, it is so much safer to be a woman outside of the United States than to be a woman inside the United States. In 2013, I was held up at gunpoint in West Hollywood at the Pride Festival. And that really shook me to my core. Like, I knew that this is not for me. This is not something I want to endure. This is not something I want my children to endure. That was really a triggering moment for me, and the pushing factor to get out, because it was unacceptable for me to be in public during the day and to literally have my life risked for $20 in my Sephora card. I've only experienced incredible people out there in the world. Travelers are always so supportive. People want to show you their life, their culture, their customs. So do not be afraid as a woman traveling alone or studying abroad without a male partner. And then, of course, if this interests you and you want to pursue this and you want someone who has gone through it, who understands the questions, the problems, everything in between, my Move Abroad Masterclass actually starts in 3 weeks. So this program is available all year round. You can enroll at any point in time. All of the modules are pre-recorded and set up, but 3 times a year, I run my live masterclasses where you actually sit down in a small group with me every Sunday, so you can ask me your specific questions. We actually have a few graduates here. So obviously they like what I do, they like what the content is, and if you're interested in this, it's a great time to get started right now because we're not going anywhere. It's a 5-week course with videos, activities, actionable items. I've really put my heart and soul into it. And it's perfect for professionals who are looking to take their career abroad, long-term travelers that want to go woofing across Asia for 2 years, and then, of course, partners of foreign nationals, because I know when you love someone and you want to rejoin them across the world, what does that even look like? Like, what does the tax situation look like? Let me help you out. So I have a little gift for everyone here today. I have a 48-hour sale for all of my digital products. So my financial fluency course, which is a 6-week money mindset masterclass. It's really the course we all should have taken in high school because it teaches us the A to Z of personal finance when it comes to setting up a budget, paying down debt, how to invest. It's very thorough. Then, of course, I have an Etsy store with a range of digital products from budgets to planners. So 30% off there as well for all products. And then 30% off of my Live Abroad Masterclass for both Americans, and I have a global class for all passports, and you can save up to $149, but only for the next 48 hours. So yes, thank you so much for attending my presentation. Let me drop the link to everything in the chat, and then we'll get started with a few questions. 1 second. So here is my Etsy store. Here are the master classes. Boom. Okay, let's answer some questions. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I do not want to pursue psychology anymore. Would this be possible with a bachelor's in psych looking for the UK or anywhere in Europe? Absolutely, yes. Okay, so master's degrees are meant for career pivots. So this is perfect. Also, specifically in the UK, they literally don't give a shit about what you study. I know people who studied theater who are now bankers at Barclays. In the UK specifically, they really use education as just like a tick for the fact that you can sit in one place and learn. It is not a death sentence or a commitment to any one industry. I think I did economics and I bounced from international aid to education to tech to product management. So I'm a little all over the place, but well worth it. Are you familiar with I am not. It's an international academy in Germany. They're an independent entity attached to something else, and they charge money for tuition. Is a university in Germany that charges high prices comparable to the US for tuition a scam as far as quality of education is concerned, or is it just a bad deal financially? It really depends on what you're trying to study, because the business school here in Munich is $30,000 a year, but it is the creme de la creme where all of the major consulting people go, where all the BMW executives go. So much like America and how we treat the Ivy Leagues, it's just like a boys club where you meet and network people, and that's why the price tag is so high. If price is a real concern for you, don't fall into these American traps where you're paying the exact same amount of money. Like you just don't need to do that here. They don't judge you the same way we do in America when you say you went to a public school versus a private school. You'll probably address it, but is language a huge barrier? No, it's not. So many of the master's programs specifically are in English because they want to attract lots of international students. It's the bachelor programs that are typically in the local language, unless you find a very specific international one. I have a question for later because you may have covered it. Are there countries where you can work while getting your MBA? Of course. So loads of people work while they're doing their MBA. Candice Abroad on Instagram is doing an MBA in London at the moment, and she's working at the same time, having a great time. She'll be on my live actually in a couple of weeks, so you can ask these questions and see what she's up to there. But many student visas you can actually work part-time on. You just can't work full-time on, potentially. Every country is different. Woo, I'm really thirsty. I'm a mom and still want to study abroad. Would my family be able to get a visa? Yes, they would be. So when you get a student visa for a higher ed program, and for most bachelors, you actually get to bring your family with you. So I have a friend right now in London. She was doing her MBA at the London Business School, and her husband got to come over, and he was entitled to a work visa as a result of being her spouse. So you can bring your husband, you can bring your dog, you can bring your kid on the student visa. That also unlocks public school for you. So you can actually send your child to the local public school after registering with the council or whatever it is the local entity is. So do not worry about that. What's the minimum savings needed for applying for visas? This is the weird question. They never seem to put an actual number. If you're on mainland Europe or in Asia and Latin America, I think you could get by with a couple of grand in your bank account because it proves you can put a deposit in housing. And then if your visa allows you to work, you can say that. You can say, I plan to pay for part of my experience while working there. And that's totally legal so long as your visa says that it is. For me, I paid my university tuition in full with the government loan, and then I just showed them that I had like $10,000 extra to pay for rent and living costs, and I told them that I would work once I was in there as well. Can students do work study in the EU or UK with a student visa? I think you just addressed it. Yes, I did. So it depends on the visa. My UK visa allowed me to work 25 hours a week, so part-time. In Germany, I've seen the same thing. So it really depends on the country itself. Did we have any other questions in the chat? I want to be in engineering and move on from psychology. Yes, do that. Live your life. Do student visas allow you to work and earn income while you're studying? Yes, it does. But I have learned that if you're trying to be an entrepreneur as a student, there might be limitations on that because the foreign income that you earn as a digital nomad actually has to be reported in your new country of residence. And this is something that these digital nomad like influencers don't tell you. The fact that they're not reporting it is putting them at risk for like a bunch of tax issues, and they're violating their tourist visas if they're staying too long in that country as a digital nomad. This poor thing, there was a queer Black travel blogger that recently got deported from Bali because she was writing content about how the queer community should come to Bali, work in Bali, be on tourist visas in Bali, and that's illegal to work while on a tourist visa. So you really have to be careful with some of these rules and color within the lines. I would recommend getting a local job because you're there to establish yourself as a credible source and someone who's invested in the community. You want to make local friends, you want to learn the local language, you want to start meeting people who can introduce you to a future position in that area. Let's see. Can students do work study in the EU? Of course they can. I went to Bordeaux when I studied abroad in Santander, Spain. It is beautiful. Oh, yes, I love Bordeaux. Vanessa, are we gonna be broke for the first year of studying? Probably, but isn't that the case for most students? Like, I don't know anywhere where students are like balling immediately, you know? Okay, I think that is all of the questions. What is different about the programs in Scotland? So Scotland prioritizes healthcare workers and people in underrepresented industries. So those are the programs that are going to be free or extremely subsidized. But if you Google Scotland, their programs are still relatively affordable. There are a couple grand a year if you want to study sociology or English or whatever it is that you want to do. How relevant are the major world university rankings? How big a career gap is there for someone who goes to a high rank school versus a low rank school in Europe? There are rankings, like let's not beat around the bush, but they don't dictate your future career and opportunities like they do in America. The UK is a bit more snobby about it, like they have Oxford and they have Cambridge, but I know loads of people at Goldman Sachs, Bloomberg, Expedia who never went to any of those schools. They all went to local schools in Sweden or Austria, and they're doing just fine. Any thoughts on Australia? Hell yeah, go to Australia. There's like an age limit for Australia from when you can get in and start working. I think it's 30 something. But their immigration system is points based. So you need to prove that you have higher education. You need to prove that you have some sort of affiliation to that country, and that'll give you the points necessary to be let in and to start working there. If I join your master's class program, would I be able to learn how to apply to these programs? Yes. So we have a whole week on finding work and finding programs and finding opportunities abroad. And then, of course, we have actionable next steps and content, so you know the steps to take to find these different opportunities. And at the end of the week, you get to sit with me and ask the questions that you've been wanting to ask. But you got to be willing to put in the effort. Like, it would be impossible for me to make custom country and specific recommendations and write them all down for everyone. So it's really a collaborative situation where you do the heavy lifting, I give you feedback, you get to learn and pick my brain from the last like 8 years of being abroad. And yeah, you get to make your own dreams come true. I have so many Australian connections now through Clubhouse. Yes, go visit those people. Like, go have fun. My voice is starting to leave me now. I just wanted to leave you with a couple of remaining thoughts. An hour before this program, I was told that someone very close to me almost died. And still, I was able to deliver this special presentation, be myself, be animated. There is a real resilience that you build as someone who is abroad and building their life in a place that is different to what you've experienced your entire life. So if you want to know what you're made of, what makes you happy, and what could change the course of your life, do it. Do the master's abroad. You totally deserve it. Life is too short, and you have to take these opportunities while they're there. So thank you so much for being here. I will repost this on YouTube for everyone to watch. Do not worry. And I hope to see you on Instagram and at future events. Okay. Bye.